Plus or minus 5? How do I get rid of the 4? Okay, pay attention. This minus 4, I'm going to put in front of the plus or minus. This reads y equals, watch how this is two solutions. You can use your finger, that's what I'm going to use. Class, what's negative 4 plus 5? And what is negative 4 minus 5? Negative 9. My two solutions are y equals positive 1 and negative 9. Have you ever been in a car where the person driving takes the wrong turn, but you eventually get to the right destination? It is possible that you take a wrong turn here. You don't recognize the square root rule here. You could expand this, y plus 4, so I'll call it a detour. You don't really like to go on detours. My kids always say, Dad, are we lost? We took a wrong turn. They know that automatically it's taking longer to get to our destination, right? But we still get there. So you could FOIL that, so that would be y squared plus 8y plus 16 equals 25. And then you can subtract 25 from both sides, y squared plus 8y minus, is that 9? Does that sound right? No? Yeah, I subtracted 16, or subtracted 25? 16, yeah. And then you're like, well, how do I solve a quadratic like that? Then you can use a factoring method. Y plus 9, y minus 1. And then you can use what we did before, zero product rule. Y plus 9 equals 0, y equals negative 9. Y minus 1 equals 0, and then y equals 1. Class, is that the same answer? But this one took a lot of work, didn't it? Because we went on a detour. You didn't recognize the square root method. So it's not wrong if you go on the detour. But there was some math you may not know yet, or I haven't taught you yet, and you're like, oh, that's too much. I should have recognized the square root method. All right, last example. Example number 3. Class, is it isolated? No. Here's another trick. Raise your hand if you heard of Pemdas. Pemdas is used to simplify expressions. To solve, I made this up, you go backwards. Why do I say that? Because in this problem, there are 3 options for the student. You can divide by 7, you can take the square root, or you can add 2 to both sides. The student who just wants to apply the square root method or rule, they just take the square root of both sides and they're lost. But this would tell you to solve, to get x by itself, I'm going to add or subtract first. 5 equals 7x squared. Class, should we take the square root now? No, because it tells you that we should do multiplication and division first. So I would divide by 7. I'm left with 5 over 7 equals x squared. Class, now can we apply the square root rule? Yes, we can. I have the square root of 5 over the square root of 7. This is great, so I can teach you some more math. You can never have a radical in the denominator, so you can rationalize. Everyone say rationalize? Radical 5 times a radical 7 is radical 35. Radical 7 times radical 7 is radical 49, which is just 7. Uh-oh, I did it again. What did I forget, class? When I took the square root of both sides, this should be a plus or minus. So my answer to this problem is plus or minus radical 35 over 7. let me make sure we're on the same page. This is two solutions. That's a positive radical 35 over 7 and a negative radical 35 over 7. What did we learn in these three problems? Square root method is a way for quadratics. Make sure that it is isolated. Make sure you don't forget the plus or minus. I have three examples here. First one you haven't seen in a while. We're solving a right triangle, the missing side. When you have two sides of a right triangle and you're trying to find the third, you should be using Pythagorean theorem, which is on your formula sheet. Class, tell me the formula. You'll get a chance to copy the other examples if you haven't. So the C is called the what? The hypotenuse. It's found from across the right angle. We'll actually be working a lot with these second semester. And then the A and B values don't matter. They're just legs of the triangle. But the C, it has to be across from the right triangle. So I'm just going to substitute C squared equals 4 squared plus 2 squared. And then 4 squared is 16 plus 4. I get C squared equals 20. Well, here I can apply the square root rule, which basically just says take the square root to get rid of the power of 2. Quick reteach on simplifying radicals. That means the C is equal to the square root of 4 times the square root of 5. The square root of 4 is 2, and I'm leaving a space right here for a missing step. The answer is 2 radical 5. Now, although this is the answer, I should put that in red. Although this is the answer, I left a space right here. Is because I did this example to show that it's actually bad habits. The bad habits are this. We just read in the square root rule that essentially my answer should be this. C equals the plus or minus 2 radical 5. There's actually two solutions. C can be both 2 radical 5, and algebraically it can also be negative 2 radical 5. But if I put it back in the picture, can you ever have a distance that's negative? No. So back in geometry, then you just kept only the positive. Why I put this example on here is to show you that it should have been plus or minus, and then you reject the minus because distance is always positive. Let's apply the square root rule to another problem. We are learning to solve quadratic equations. Just like potatoes, potatoes could be cooked, boiled, baked, fried, thrown against the wall, I guess. And you need to identify which of the methods is best. No one's going to tell you cook the potato this certain way. There's advantages of each of the methods. In quadratics, there are many methods that are an advantage. In this problem, it's already factored on one side. Everyone say factored. But what's a little bit different is that you have a constant on the other side. Well, if the factored form of the quadratics is isolated, everyone say isolated. We talked about that before, where there's nothing in front or behind. Then I can just apply the square root rule, which is what? What do I do? Take the square root of both sides. We're left with y plus 4 equals the square root of 25. Uh-oh, I missed something. Partner A, whisper to partner B, what did I miss? Eduardo, what did I miss? I missed the plus or minus. Class, what is the square root of 25? So I have